All right. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. And today, guys, we got another epic, amazing, special guest here on the podcast. Our guest today, you guys, is ranked in the top 5% of realtors in the United States, specialized in luxury real estate in Southern California. And his clientele includes accountants, attorneys, digital media executives, actors, producers, TV writers, tech professionals, and many more. Is a member of Compass Realty's sports entertainment division, has been featured on Bravo's TV show Million Dollar Listing Los Angeles, and much more. All that will break down today. So really stoked and honored to have Marc Hernandez on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hello. Wow, that intro, talk about make one's head get a little bit larger. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you on, man. And I know that you have a very, I don't want to say, different extensive background before you got into real estate, and which I didn't bring up in the intro, but I want to get into that as well. Because man, I mean, if you just have this crazy dynamic career outside of real estate and inside real estate, and all things I excited to break down here with you. So with that being said, before you got into real estate, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. So what did you do prior to getting into real estate? And then what ultimately led you to going down this journey?
Good. So, they say everybody has 3 careers in their lifetime. And I think that's definitely been the case for me. It's been 3, maybe even 4. But what's interesting about my journey is that I've really come full circle when it comes to real estate. Right out of college, I went to USC here in Southern California in the Los Angeles area. This is where I was born and raised. And at that time, a lot of my fellow, my mates, my buddies, my friends, they were taking a real estate course at the business school just to learn how to buy a house. And so I said, hey, that sounds like a great elective. I'll take it, right? So I took this class and my mind was opened up to the commercial side of real estate. So, I mean, high-rise office buildings, REITs, industrial parks, luxury retail, et cetera. And I'm like totally blown away at this new world of real estate other than selling or buying or selling a house. So right after I graduated, I got my license and I started as a commercial real estate agent, selling and leasing high-rise office buildings and office space. So from there, I pivoted into luxury real estate management, working at a very high-end retail destination called South Coast Plaza, which is right here in the Orange County area, and learn how to market, lease, construct, legal, store openings, how to market, online and through catalogs. And then after that, I definitely made another move and fell in love with the entertainment business. And here I was, 34 years old, making about 110 grand. My parents thought I was a rock star, big man on campus at South Coast Plaza. And I fall in love with the entertainment business. I want to be like the next Michael Ovitz or the next Mike Eisner. I want to be a big Hollywood talent agent. So I walked from my job at South Coast Plaza, got a job in the mailroom at United Talent Agency. If you've ever watched Entourage, you know a little bit about that world, that lifestyle. And it was the craziest thing I ever did. I went from 110K to making $350 a week in the mailroom at United Talent Agency. And like I said, my parents just thought I had lost it. But you know what? In hindsight, it was the best thing I ever did. I mean, I literally jumped to the bottom of the ladder, went up another ladder, and built this, to this day, my clientele is made up, as you mentioned, of writers, actors, producers, showrunners, people in the ad space, media buyers, creative agencies, media agencies, tech companies, startups and all that. So, making that move was difficult at the time, but I really believed either I was crazy or I really believed, hey, I got this, I can do this. And I've always been somewhat of a, let's go, let's give it a shot. I'm kind of not afraid to give anything a try. So in hindsight, I'm very glad I did it, because I wouldn't be here today as a successful luxury real estate agent with Compass had I not taken those risks.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, everything lays that foundation, and plus I got to imagine that, if you wouldn't have made that move, even though it was a big move, a risky move that a lot of others maybe couldn't fathom leaving that money to go to, to that, there probably would have always been that part of you that would have been wondering what if.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not a good feeling. And we've all experienced that at some point in our lives, right? And doesn't feel very good.
Yep. So love it, man. All right. So then you jump back into the real estate game, but this time, I mean, you're focusing on more residential, correct?
Correct.
So you jump back in, what, about 6 years ago, full time?
6 years ago, I knew a few names of brokerages with the Coldwell Bankers and the Sotheby's of the world. A good friend of mine told me that I should talk to the sales manager at Telus Properties in Beverly Hills. They were a small boutique company. I think they had about 22 offices from, I think it was like Coronado to Carmel, all California based. And I went in, I interviewed with them, and they pretty much brought me in right away. So yeah. I did that for about a year. I think it was about a year at Telus. My very first year in the business, I did 10 transactions for about 10 million. I think my GCI back then was about 177,000. And then just right around the year mark, don't quote me exactly, Douglas Elliman came in from New York. They needed a West Coast footprint, and they acquired Telus Properties. And I then went to work for Douglas Elliman again here in the Beverly Hills office. Yep. And then from then in 2019, I got a call from a friend who had put me in touch with someone over at Compass, and they wanted to meet with me and have coffee. And I was kind of like, no, I'm happy. I'm really, I love Douglas Elliman when I was there. And I just heard this voice of my father going off in my head, always take the meeting, whether you're interested or not, right? Always take the meeting. So I took the meeting, and it was the one of the best and longest meetings I've ever had. I think I went in at 3:30. And we were going through PowerPoint presentations, and they showed me the marketing department. And I probably would have been out of there in an hour with any other meeting. I think I was there till like 5 o'clock. Yep. It's like they couldn't get rid of me. Yeah. And I was sold. And I haven't looked back. I love Compass. I love the leadership and the footprint and the network that we have. And I've made lots of friends within the organization from coast to coast. And here I am today.
Yep, love it, man. All right, so let's circle back to year one. Now, this is year one, round two, but you're also a different product. Plus, you took a pause from the real estate industry, where it was more commercial focused. Now it's residential focused. Walk us through. Because doing 10 million your first year, and I know you had some experience, but again, commercial and residential are like two different beasts.
Different.
From a high business level, I guess there's a lot of similarities with operations, but it's two totally different products, two totally different, clientele, so walk us through that, man. Because a lot of people, the stats, dude, most, 90% of them dropping out. In the first 3 years. And, so I think for most to fathom doing 10 million their first year, would be a game changer for them. So walk it, what did you do? How did you build up that kind of momentum within 12 months?
Yeah. The first thing that I did is I wanted to make sure that everybody knew I was here, right? It's like you can't be a secret agent, right? You have to, and that's the power, that's the beauty and the power of social media and what it can do for you. But the first thing I did is I started setting up coffee meetings with all of the agents in the Beverly Hills office at Douglas Elliman. And I want, like, say you were an agent, hey, Josh, I'd love to, if there's anything I can ever do for you, if you ever need someone to sit an open house, or you ever need an errand run for you, let me know. I'd love to be, a resource for you, and consider me an extension of your team. I didn't want to be on a team. I'm very self-driven. I could work within a team, I'm sure. but I wanted to do it on my own, and I wanted to eventually build my team, which is where I am today. So I would have set up these coffee meetings, and then I would also I also put together let's just call it a business development email for soliciting, hosting open houses. And it would basically be an intro of who I am, what my background is. Next paragraph would be a little bit about what I would do for you. You know, I set up 20 signs, have, you know, the bespoke music playlist for you. You know, I'd have an Excel spreadsheet that night reporting exactly all the feedback that was obtained during the open house. And then testimonials from other agents. Like, you know, once I got one agent to, hey, let's say, you know, I did an open house for you. Hey, Josh, can you write me a little, you know, one-liner? You get the one-liner. I put it on that email. Josh Smith says this, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, I started doing those, and I thought, how do I differentiate myself even further? And I've always loved music. Music is in my core. I mean, I play music, I play guitar, I sing, I take voice lessons every Monday at 4:30. My son Lennon, named after one of these guys, is a little rocker at 11 years old, playing a Gibson Les Paul, and he's just jamming and doing little concerts and stuff with School of Rock. But music is always like, I was the kid in the back of the class in 6th grade that when a teacher would say something, a lesson, if there was some words that could be construed as a song lyric, I would blurt out the song, right? So cut to me looking for open houses my first year, and the subject lines would always be song titles that had something to do with the house. So the first one would be like, you know, Our House by Crosby, Stills and Nash. Another one would be Pink Houses by John Cougar Mellencamp. One I did was, remember the band Aha, Take On Me? Take on me, take me on. And so it's like, then the paragraph would say, please take me on. I'd love it if you would take me on to be your host for the open house. And then I would have my paragraphs, right? So people were starting to take notice of that, like, because I was doing something different. And the thing that I've learned very quickly in this business is that so many agents do the same things. Yeah. And they just do exactly what other agents have been doing. And, you know, I remember hearing you on one of your podcasts talk about, you know, what's your, you know, USP or whatnot. It's like, you've got to find ways to stand out. And so that was very, very helpful for me to stand out. And I just start taking on open houses like weekly. And I would literally, Josh, I remember, I think I learned this in your mastery boot camp. I did. As a matter of fact, it just came to me. I learned this from you, that it's like, it doesn't matter what week the open house is, what day the open house is, right? It's marketing. It's a chance to set up 20 signs. It's a chance to make this home your office, right? It's a chance for you to set up your tripod and do videos at the house. And so I literally would do, what would I do? I think I could, on really good weeks, I would go Wednesday afternoon, try to catch the moms bringing their kids home from school, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, that's 3. I do a Saturday morning open. I do a Saturday afternoon open. I do a Sunday morning open, and I do so I could do 7 open houses. There were weeks when I would do 7 open houses in a week.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was on a call this morning with someone who's thinking of getting into the business, and we were talking a little bit about it. It's like, you know, it's about showing people that you're doing what you're doing. And again, that's what social media is good for. And when you make a change, whether it's from commercial real estate, or I have a friend that used to be a pro golfer and he segued into real estate. And I remember when I first started, he said, the first year was so tough because I had to tell people that I was no longer, you know, John the golfer, and I'm now John the real estate agent. And people just can't get out of that mindset. So the beauty about having all these open houses, I'm working on my dialogues. I'm getting my confidence on how to showcase a property. I'm getting social media content out there, you know, selfie or whatever of me putting open house signs on, putting a flag in, like, come on into the house. And it's like, whether you're making transactions or not at that time, because you're probably not yet, people are starting to get to see Marc the agent, not Marc the entertainment executive, right?
Yeah.
So I think if there was one thing that really put me on the map in the business the first year, was collaborating with other agents, getting to know them, and not looking at other agents as, competition, looking at them as partners. How can I help you, Josh? And then really branding myself as the go-to for being an open house, someone to host an open house.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. And, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I want to make 100 or 200 grand my first year, but they're not willing to put in the work. I mean, you showed up, you put in the work. I mean, that's, because that's not even counting all the work with clients and other things. I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean, I've done 7 open houses in a week, and I can tell you it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and a lot of follow-up.
But what'd you say? You netted 170 grand or whatever your first year. I mean, so you made big money, dude. So I'm curious because a lot of your clientele comes from the relationships and career that you did previously, Now, I talk to a lot of agents that are maybe nervous or fearful about reaching out to their sphere of influence, from their past career. They don't want to come across that salesy, in your face, but it seems like you've done a really good job at, connecting that sphere with what you're doing now. What are some things that you've done I know you said earlier, not being a secret agent, like what were things that you did or have done or are currently doing, to kind of bring those all together?
I think it's a combination of, being in front of people physically, like, going to events, parties, I go to a lot of events through my son's school, events that I hear are going on around town, friends that are having parties from the entertainment business or the tech business or whatnot, showing up. A lot of people don't like to go out, right? They want to be an agent, but they want to stay in. And it's like, this business really, in my opinion, I think you would agree, it really comes down to 2 things, and it's conversations and appointments, right? And you can have conversations can take place anyway. They could be knocking on a door. They can be cold calling. They could be, going to a party and meeting people and swapping information and saying, hey, let's keep in touch. I'll follow up with you at some point. And again, not in a salesy way, just in a human way, right? So, I spend time every day calling my sphere of influence. I spend about an hour a day just checking in with people. I've got it all in my CRM, and there's nothing. Real estate can and does come up, but it doesn't come up because I bring it up. They know what I do. Hey, by the way, Marc, what's going on in the market? What do you think about these rates? I'm just calling you, Josh. Hey, Josh, I've been thinking about you lately. How's everything going with you and your family? I saw on Instagram you went on vacation to Aspen. I thought I'd give you a call. I'm thinking of going there myself. Do you have any hot recommendations for hotels or restaurants or what? It's finding the person-to-person connection first. Let the real estate follow on its own organically, and nothing has to be salesy about it, right? The other thing is, I learned this a long time ago from one of those sales books when I was a commercial real estate agent. The guy would literally, it was like an old Tom, I mean, not to date myself, Josh, but it was like an old Tom Hopkins book. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Tommy Hopkins, he would literally write everybody a birthday card on their birthday. I don't do that. I'm not going, that's a lot of work. But I literally, on Facebook, I have 3 main platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. They all do different things. I find that Facebook is mainly more friends and family and business connections. LinkedIn is all business and friends. And then Instagram is just kind of everything, with the photo connection. But every day on Facebook, I go into everybody whose birthday it is, and I wish them. And I don't just go HBD, right? Right. Happy birthday. I literally write words, and then and some emojis and and I get it in there every single day. And it's like, look, I'm wishing them a happy birthday. I'm letting them know I'm thinking about them. and I'm giving us a reason to be reconnected again. So, you know, in person, phone calls, liking, commenting birthdays on social media. I like to think of it like try to be everywhere, right? I want people, if they go to LinkedIn, I want them to see Marc Hernandez. If they go to Instagram, I want them to see Marc Hernandez. If they go to the Compass Retreat, they're going to see Marc Hernandez in Atlanta or wherever it is. And I've been told that by you know, top leadership at the company, that they see me everywhere. But it's like, it's showing up and it's being present and it's connecting with people. And I think that's why I love this business so much, is not because I love houses. I mean, I've heard that, like, you know, when I'm interviewing people, why do you want to get into real estate? Oh, because I love houses. No, I got into this business because I love people. I love hanging with them. I love hugging them. I love, you know, representing them and being their hero. I love wining and dining with them. I love conversing with them. It's all about people for me. And I think that's why I've done well and will continue to do well. But, you know, it's all about, like we said earlier, showing up and connecting with them on a regular basis.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Couldn't agree more, man. All right. So now with you working within and specializing in and doing a lot of luxury real estate sales, you know, I mean, I think it's the, you know, thing a lot of people want to be in this space. You know, it's the sexy thing. It's, you know, bigger commissions, you know, all of that. There can be a lot of intimidation, a lot of, you know, whatever that may be. You know, if somebody's watching or listening to this and they want to start breaking into that niche, you know, what are some of the key pieces of advice and things that you've done that have allowed you to break into that niche?
I think I shouldn't say always. I mean, I grew up in West Covina, California, here, about 30 miles east of here. Grew up pretty, you know, middle class. My dad was a, you know, industrial had a metal manufacturing company. My mom stayed at home. I think that the changing point for me was when I was able to get into USC, which was back then, I don't know if they still call it the University of Spoiled Children. But I mean, my world opened up, right? It's all of a sudden this middle-class kid from West Covina is now like hanging out with like friends that are from New York or, you know, London or Japan or whatnot, and seeing all this like bougie stuff and brands and stuff. And guess what? I kind of liked it. I really started to like nice things. So I think if you want to be in luxury, I think it probably starts with having a luxury mindset, right? You know, you have to, you know and appreciate, you know, whether it's luxury hotels or luxury clothing or, you know, just know the restaurants, the finer things in life, because the people that are going to travel in those luxury circles and buy those luxury homes, that's what they're interested in. And that's what they're talking about.
So, and maybe this is, look, I mean, some of these questions I might ask you might seem silly or dumb,
all right.
but you know, because you know, I mean, we've known each other for a long time now, and you know, like, okay, my first year, I think I had to sell about 5 times the amount of homes to equate the same amount of volume that you did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a more, I mean, up until recently, now our average price point's maybe $500,000, but you know, it's like throughout my career, it's been, you know, if I had to set an average, so it's been around that $300,000 price point range. So, you know, we're more, you know, high volume. And so a lot of these questions are, look, that's not my niche. I don't know, you know, right. So with that though, you know, for somebody that hasn't had that exposure, like, how would you recommend they get started in getting that familiarity?
Right. Well, with it, okay. So in addition to starting to take on the luxury mindset and maybe subscribing to some, you know, whether it's Architectural Digest or Vanity Fair, and kind of look at what the advertisers are advertising to their markets, because those are the same people you'll be marketing to. I would then find whatever neighborhood it is in my area, whether it's Phoenix or North Carolina or Austin or whatever, that has the highest priced homes. And those are going to be the luxury homes. And, you know, they're going to differ from metropolitan area to metropolitan area, just like you just described, right? But then I would go out of my way to be the master of every one of those luxury homes, look up the ownership, look up the title records, know who lives where, know where they go eat their, Sunday dinners and all of this, and just become obsessed with knowing that inventory, talking about that inventory. Like Gary Vee, look what he did. I mean, he became obsessed with wine from his dad's company and just put it out there to the world, and look where he is today. So I would be obsessed with that neighborhood, that community, those restaurants, and be the mayor of all of it, get it out into social media and let them know that you're the go-to to do that. And then at the same time, start to understand kind of like the nomenclature and the vocabulary of the people that run in those circles. Show up to their events. If BMW is having a new release party for a new X whatever that's coming out, get on the list and go to it. Another thing that I've always told agents to do, Josh, is to find out who the local newspapers, not just the magazines, but every town, like the Phoenix Gazette or, the Modern Luxury in Phoenix or whatever they are, right? Find out who the account executives are. You can just get the magazine, open it up to the masthead where it says the publisher and the editor, and all the way down, it'll say advertising and the ad execs, account execs. Look them up on LinkedIn, get their email address, send them an email and say, look, and I did this my first year, I remember, hey, I'm not advertising now, but I plan to advertise with you in the future. Love to get together with you to have coffee, talk about your publication, talk about your demographic, talk about your rate card, right? So that I can be well-versed, so that when I'm ready to run with you guys, it's plug and play. You go meet those people, you build relationships with them. Next thing you know, you're getting invited to the big, fancy parties in town. And guess what? You're rubbing elbows with big shots that have money, and you're representing them in their next purchase or sale of their home.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. I mean, when you
run in the circles.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you look at marketing, it's okay, identify your ideal client, right? What are their demographics? What are the psychographics? But then where do they congregate? Because whether it be marketing or let's just say prospecting, so whether that be networking or, but you got to show up where they congregate, and that's really what you're speaking to here at a high level. And I got to imagine too, one thing I love about open houses is you get to pick and choose the location. So you got to pick and choose, okay, hey, if I want to specialize in, let's just say, $3+ million properties in this particular area, okay, well, those are then the open houses that you're prospecting to get. You're sitting those open houses, you're getting familiar with the properties, you're getting to know people that are looking and coming through those properties, right, plus building a relationship with the agent. So I'm sure that, if I were to break in or wanted to break in, to me, that just sounds like a brilliant strategy that you started with.
It's another thing I just remembered, another thing I picked up from you in your mastery boot camp. And that was probably 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I took that. I remember that very, very, very clearly. Is at open houses, always have some kind of a list of other open houses or other properties that are available in the area, so that they don't just think of you as a one-trick pony with this one house. And I would always take it a step further. Everybody has their own routine and their own way of doing things, but I never really liked the idea of just having a stack of flyers for everybody to just take and walk out the door and toss away, right? But I would build like a collection on the MLS on my phone, right, back then, of all the open houses that were open. I'd send that to myself as an email, and then I'd have all the available properties that were open. I'd send that to myself as an email. So you come to the open house and maybe it's not for you. And then I say, oh, have you seen the house over at, over on Jones Street? And you're all like, no, I haven't seen that. And then I'd pull out the phone. I go, yeah, this one right here. As a matter of fact, there's 3 others open right now. Would you maybe you want to go see those now? And you're like, oh yeah, I didn't even know about them. what's your cell phone number? Let me text this list to you. They're open now until 5. You can go have a look at them, and give me a call afterwards if you have any questions about them. Right. So now I've just received your contact information. You take my flyer. I don't necessarily have your information, or if you're on a handwritten sign-in sheet, it's chicken scratch and it's a fake email or phone number anyway. But it was a great connecting tool, and it always worked for me. Always have other properties to show them.
Yep. Love it. So then, how important is it? And I apologize to keep kind of hitting on this niche, but I know it's something that there's not a lot of guests that we have on here that necessarily specialize in that niche, and I know it's something that I get a lot of questions on. So, how important would you say for luxury real estate is the brokerage that you choose? And maybe not even from the name of the brokerage, but I believe in success through osmosis. If you got other killers in your office that are in that niche that you want to be in, I got to imagine. I mean, so how important is it? What kind of a role has that played in your career?
People may not everyone will agree on this, but personally, I think it is very important. There are certain brokerages out there that have names for themselves as luxury properties, whether it's, a Sotheby's, or if it's, Douglas Elliman, or it's the agency, or it's Compass, or, and then there are other brokerages out there that are a little bit more kind of if you got luxury on one end, you've got discount on the other, then you've got other brokerages out there. Yeah, I don't know too many of them. The one comes to mind is Redfin, comes to mind as being very discount. Like if I wanted to sell luxury, I wouldn't hang my license at Redfin. And I'm sure there's probably someone at Redfin that says, oh, but we can do that, or we have a division or whatnot. But it's not top of mind to the marketplace, right? When you think of, these global brands that have luxury presentations and luxury, footprints, I think it's very important because, especially if they've got a network of agents that are either national or global, next thing you know, you're getting a referral from someone in, Larchmont, New York, that needs to purchase in Beverly Hills because they contacted a luxury agent, there, and they wanted to move here. So I think branding is very important with whatever product you're selling. And I think it's especially important with real estate. And, if you're running with luxury clients, they're going to tend to flock to the luxury real estate brokerages and not the discount ones. So I think it's something to be very carefully looked at when making a decision who to hang your license with. Yep,
love it. So all right, so let's maybe kind of pivot and transition to, we talked about what you did your first year and to start building this. What are you doing now? Because it's things are always changing, have changed. What does it look like now as far as going out there and what's working really well for you today?
So it's 6 years later. I've taken my business from 10 transactions and 10 million and 177,000. I've basically 8x'd that. My last year, 2022, I think I'd done about 43 transactions. Total was about 60 million in production. And my GCI was right about 1.6. And that's me and a team of 5. I would say of that. And then the other 20% is, our deals that I'm doing with the team where, I've handed them a lead or they brought someone to the table or whatnot, and they need my guidance and leadership to get them through. And last year, last year when the market was really hot, we were seeing so many multiple offers, right? Everything that was nice was going multiple, and we would see 10-way, 15-way, even like 20-way multiples where it was your buyer and 19 other buyers.
Yep.
And one of the things that I've built over the years that I'm proud of is I have a 95% win percentage on multiple offers. And I've beaten as high as 24-way multiples with my representing my buyer, and I wasn't necessarily the highest price. So it's, it's 6 years later. I've got a team of 5. I'm in recruiting mode. So if you know anyone, I'm trying to get to 10. When I was at Fox Television Networks and American Idol running their national ad sales team, I had, I think, about 13 account executives that rolled up to me. So I'm used to recruiting, leading, mentoring salespeople. And so that's what I enjoy doing here as well. So team of 5, I want to get to 10. I've 8x'd my business. I think I've done very well with regard to marketing and social media. I get comments on that all the time. And I feel like I've got such a long way to go. I mean, now I really need to start really leaning into the video side of my social media, and I'm ready to do that. And I've got some great ideas for that. But I think that's about, does that kind of answer like where I am now?
And a couple follow-up questions there. One is, right when you were talking about those 43 deals, and I think you were doing a breakdown of how those came in, Zoom froze on us for a second. So we didn't hear that. So because that kind of left us on that cliffhanger. So can you repeat of what that breakdown was?
So so last year, 2022, which was 9% above 2021, I did 43, the Marc Hernandez group did 43 transactions for a total of $60 million in production and about $1.6 million in GCI. And of those transactions, I personally, with my clientele, was responsible for about 80% of those.
Yep. Love that, man. So yeah, that's awesome. So then, all right. So then you talked about 95% of a win rate on multiple offers. Now, we're going through this really funky time right now. I mean, we're recording this February 23rd, 2023, but a lot of, Southwest, West are kind of transitioning more of a buyer's market, but you still have a lot of pockets in the Northeast and in the Midwest that are still crazy sellers markets, multiple offers, so, I know that that's really piqued probably a lot of people's interest. Plus throughout our careers, we're going to experience other crazy, insane sellers markets.
Yeah.
So how the hell are you win? I mean, that's insane, dude. 95% win rate.
You got to be good looking. No, just it's been really good. And by the way, the market is still hot. There's a little side note on that. I'm saying that the market's a little bit like bipolar right now, and I don't mean that in the medical term. I just two different polar opposites, right? So on one side, the houses that are like done, and they look like they're right out of catalog for Architectural Digest or Restoration Hardware or whatnot, those are still going multiple offers, right? They may not be getting 20 offers, but maybe they're getting 9, and they're still going. They may not be going 200 over list, but they're going 100. I just listed a small little bungalow. I was so excited for this little bungalow, $1 million house, right? I mean, I've listed and represented far larger than $1 million house. But when I walked into this house, I just go, oh my God, how a property can speak to you. It doesn't matter the size. It's like the condition and the shape and the staging and the art and everything. I just go, I got to have this listing. We listed it at even though it comped out, Josh, at about $1,050,000-ish or something. We listed it at $997, had 30 groups in the first day. And I can't say exactly, but let's just say we're close to 120,000 over list.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then on the other side of the polar extreme is that, houses are priced now is not the time to price your house aspirationally, folks. It's like, it'll just sit, right? And it's not the time to list if it's not, zhuzhed and presentable. And so take care of those things first. But, when houses are kind of long in the tooth like that, they're just sitting and we're seeing price reduction. So two different extremes. But with regard to the multiple, my win percentage of 95%, it really, I guess if it came down to, we could have a whole separate call because I've got like a list of like my process on that. Too long, but I think if there's one thing that you have to do to win multiples, and for me to keep this percentage, is you have to, it's salesmanship on steroids, right? It's like you can't just write an offer and sit back and wait for it to come in. You've got to like have a process, a communication process, a team process with your lender, with your assistant, with anyone that's involved in your escrow people, whatever, all on the email, and I'm orchestrating like, okay, after I send this out, 2 hours later, I want you to make your call and tell them how golden the borrowers are. And then after you have that call later, a couple hours later on, follow up with an email. Hey, it was great talking to you. I just want to reiterate. So everybody's full court press. And then it's like checking in every day in a non-obtrusive way, but just, hey, Josh, just wanted to call. I know you've got a lot on your plate right now, but I just wanted to check in and say, my clients are still interested. They're thinking about the property. They love the property, right? And so just finding little ways to just be top of mind, Then we get into the whole letter writing thing. And I know letters aren't, they can be seen, it depends on, NAR or whatever your board of realtors says. But, we still, if the agent is open to letters, we write letters. And I remember my clients asking me, buyer clients saying, hey, Marc, do you, we're new working together. Do you ask your buyer clients to write a letter? And I would always kind of sheepishly say nope. And they get big eyes. They go, you don't? I go, I like them to write two. They're like, oh, differentiator, right? So it's like, and I always look at the letters. I used to represent screenwriters for film and TV. So I love to edit the written word. So there were two different types of letters we would write. First letter is just about basically saying what an amazing job you've done fixing this house up. Love the, love the tile that you put in the kitchen or the way you did the back. Nothing that is going to be judged upon as discriminatory or anything like that. Just about the house, right? And then when we get to the best and final stage, now that comes letter number two. Letter number one is about the house. Letter number two is about the emotional hook. It's about how you selling me your house is going to change my life for the better, right? I've had women clients that were, married and write things like, my girlfriend that I went to high school lives 2 blocks away and she's expecting a baby as I am. And I can only imagine us walking our, children in strollers down that beautiful sidewalk in front of the house. Or, we love that park down the street. When my mom comes to visit us, she's always wanted to have a park where she could sit on a park bench and just spend her afternoons. So it's finding these little like stories. I'm all about selling the story that will really make the buyer stand out. And again, nothing to be judged upon from a race, class, whatever. We're very careful about that. But, and again, opt-in only. We only do it if the listing agent is open to it. And so that's, another differentiator. But I mean, I could go on with it. Terms, of course, terms, when you think of an escrow, what do you think of? I mean, if you asked 100 people, how long is an escrow? People say 30 days, but it's like, what can you do in your contract, even if it's to shave off a day on every term to make, like, if they're putting you in a spreadsheet, 30, 30, 30, 30. Oh, Marc's 28, right? Loan contingency, 17, 17, 17. Oh, Marc's 15. Obviously, you got to get this all vetted and approved by your lender and make sure that they can deliver, right? But write as tight a terms as possible. The salesmanship, the story of it all. And then in addition to, if they're writing a story, I'm writing a story to you as the listing agent. I can't tell you, Josh, how many times I've been on listings and the buyer's agent never once called me. I don't even know what they sound like, right? They sent a one-liner, Mark, hi, Mark, attached, please find my buyer's offer to purchase. Please let me know if you have any questions. From day one, back 6 years ago, I always approach my buyer, my agent to agent submission letter as applying to college, like the essay that you would write to apply to college, right? So the first paragraph is, hey, Josh, Marc Hernandez, just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I've been at Compass, blah, blah, blah. I'm very collaborative. I like working with agents together to get to the common goal of closing the deal. No one has to be a hero here. Let's just try to bring our parties together. If there's anything you need, anytime, 24/7, you let me know. I'll be there for you. If you need me to run paperwork, not that you run paperwork anymore, but just figure of speech over to your office, I'm your guy. I'll do it, right? Then the next paragraph, actually, that's the last paragraph. The first paragraph, I mentioned the buyers and why they're perfect. I think they're a perfect fit for the house. Second paragraph is about the lender. Work with X lender. He or she has closed so many, X amount of deals with me. Keeps you in the loop 100% of the time. You'll know where you stand with her and with me the whole time through. Here's her contact information or his contact information. Copy that person on the email as well, and then have that orchestrated follow-up later. And then the last paragraph is about me and how we're going to get this done. I got your back, you got mine. Let's bring our parties together and get it done. And they already, that's salesmanship from the first letter. It's salesmanship from the buyer's letters. It's salesmanship from the terms. It's salesmanship from the check-ins from me and the team. And when we finally get to the end, they're rooting for us, right? And it's not just one person, it's the whole team is there with a smile and there to deliver and there to do whatever you need us to do. And like I said, we've beaten all cash offers with 5% down. We've beaten 24-way multiples when we were 50,000 below the highest price. We get it done and we have fun getting it done. And that statistic is something that I have a lot of fun with and I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's so amazing. That's so much gold in there, because there's a lot of agents out there that are in this industry that don't realize, man, like you got to go out there and fight for your clients each step of the way, and I don't think a lot of, the general public doesn't, I don't think have Zen, and maybe it's because we do a bad job at communicating that, as the industry as a whole, of, hey, we don't just open doors and submit an offer. It's, because in our market, it's done a 180, where we went from, 50 offers on every property to now it's like our listings are sitting, 80 days. And like, I'm preaching my agents, I'm like, now it's the reverse. I'm like, every buyer's agent that shows that property, you need to get on the phone with them and not just get regular showing feedback, but, have those deep conversations of, hey, look, you got a buyer that wants a property and I'm sure that you want to get that, them into a property, get paid. And like my seller's got a home that wants to sell. Like, what do we need to do to make this listing your buyer's number one pick and put something together right now today? Can't promise my seller's going to do it, but let's work together to put something together. What's it going to take? Like, just whether side that you're on, putting those damn deals together becomes, so important.
Absolutely.
Yep. Love it, man. So at what point did you know you were ready to start developing your team?
I came to Compass in 2019 and, I was probably on my own here for right around a year, maybe a little less, 9 months, a year, somewhere around there. And at that time, I realized that, I've always been ambitious and thought kind of in a growth mindset and an expansionary mindset. It's like, I remember when when I would get a job, like right out of college, the minute I got that job, I went home and I put that job and the responsibilities on the job on the resume. Like, I'm like, and it's putting it up here, right? That, okay, where's this going to get me to the next level, right? So, after about a year, I said, you know what, I don't want to be a solo agent. It's a lot of work. And if I want to make really, build a big business and big production volume, I'm going to need to scale that. And so I started off with just a couple of agents, and then I started to build on that, and some worked, some didn't necessarily work out. I'm very, very particular about, I think, people talk about skill set and, experience and all that. I think the number one thing for me in recruiting is energy. If you could be a neophyte and have the best energy and want to learn and take notes, and you can be a real winner in this business, right? Or you could be someone who's been in the business 20 years and had some pretty decent years, but if you've had bad energy, right, it's going to affect the team negatively. So I always start by looking for, optimistic, ambitious, kind, and compassionate people. And I have that right now, and it feels really good. And so I'm trying to build on that. Yeah. So it's about a year in. And as I said earlier, I'd like it to be around, I'm 5 now. I'd like it to be around 10. I think that's still pretty manageable. I think when you start getting up, over 20 and whatnot, then I think that's time to look at bringing in additional help, like a sales manager or something like that. And I think I'd rather be closer to the team in the business than have someone in between me and the team.
Yep. Love it. So then, now that you're a year into this, for those that are maybe thinking about or at that point where they're looking to start their own teams, what maybe, I'm sure there's some good learning lessons in there. What would some, advice be, that you wish maybe you knew, or those kind of tough learning lessons that you had to go through?
I would think if one is looking to start a team, they've never done it before, I would say, just like when we were talking about luxury, if you don't know about luxury, learn everything about a neighborhood. If you're looking to start a new team and you dream of having like this wonderful, well-oiled machine of a team, start studying other teams, right? Every office has them. And it doesn't even have to be at your office, right? You know other teams that do well at other brokerages, and follow them on social media, read what they post about, see what they photograph. What if they have YouTube, even better, watch their YouTube channel, how they communicate among themselves or to clients, or how they showcase properties, how they brand themselves, and basically, start, finding ways to do your version of that. I mean, everything is knocked off in one way, shape, or form, right? And so it's like, but how do you do that without, quote, just literally copying something? And that never looks good. Find a way to, get inspiration from this team here and another team, put it all together in the pot, stir it, come up with your creative way of doing it, and develop the team that you want. And that's what I would say. I would say study the best, and then be the best.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, it's so, because man, it's such a big difference from going and just focusing on yourself and doing your own production versus leading a team. And I see so many that just, that rush into it. They haven't spent the time to research compensation models.
Yeah.
They haven't, they don't have an onboarding process, a support process. They start going broke. They don't know how to allocate the time, between their production and recruiting and training their agents, and puts them in a tough position. And, all those things, to your point, the more that you can study those, there's going to be hardships still that everybody's going to, like, we all have to go through the pain. It's like, I can know what to do in the gym. I still got to go through the pain of the workout, right?
Exactly.
But it can eliminate a lot of, a lot of that and give you that roadmap 100%. So
I think also, Josh, to follow up on that, I think, and I'm going through this now, after having a team for, a few years now. I'm now getting to the point where I'm saying I'm at 5 and I can manage it well now, but to get to 10, I have to be more operationalized. I'm glad I haven't gotten too big without having that in place, but now I'm working on, standard operating procedures, kind of operational, manual kind of stuff, how to recruit, how to show, how to list, how to collaborate, how to network, all of this stuff, so that, if I'm not around, that the business can continue to operate. Because by the way, great movie. Total tangent. If you haven't seen this movie and you're into operationalizing your business, the movie is called The Founder.
Yep.
Michael Keaton, about him being, he plays Ray Kroc, who was the traveling milkshake blender salesman that sold to the McDonald brothers out in San Bernardino, California. And you saw it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I could watch it again right now. When they're on the tennis court and they're using chalk and they're drawing like the footprint of the restaurant, and the fries are going to feed here and they're going to come down and shoot here to the guy that puts them in the bag. They had that all worked out ahead of time, and look at what they scaled to. But if you don't have those operations in place, then the scaling will be rocky.
Yep. Couldn't agree more, man. So then, you talked about, speaking of that, of future growth.
Yes.
I know that you mentioned, okay, you're at 5 now, you want to be at 10, within the next 12 months or by the end of this year. Where do you see this going long term, man? 5 years from, 10 years from now, like long term, like, where do you want to take this thing?
So so last year I was GCI, and I'm only bringing up GCI because in essence, that's kind of like your gross revenue of your business, right?
Yep.
Production isn't how you can manage with production, but what are you bringing into your business? Last year was, 1.6, and my 5-year growth plan is to be $5 million GCI business in the next 5 years, and $10 million business in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it, man. And then, Marc, for those that are watching and listening that, want to continue following you on this success journey, or maybe they're in your market, they want to be a part of your amazing team. Like, where are the best places to reach out to you, to get in touch with you, to continue following you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm the Marc Hernandez. Marc is with a C. I'm also on LinkedIn. Just look up my name, Marc Hernandez, again, Marc with a C. And then Facebook, I think I'm maxed out on, so I can't really take any more people on there. But those would be the two best places on social. My email address is marc.hernandez@compass.com. And then my phone number is 310-993-8730. Yeah, that's the best.
So anybody that's watching and listening, we'll make it super easy on. If you just scroll below, we'll have all of Marc's contact information. So you can just click on those links, have all of that below for you. All right. So last question for you, Marc. I know we're going long on time. So just last question here for you, though.
Is this the bonus round?
Yeah. This is the bonus round. So if Marc today, knowing everything that you know now, everything that you've learned on this journey, could sit down with yourself 6 years ago on a park bench and have a conversation with your younger self and give yourself a couple pieces of advice that would have just fast forwarded this success trajectory you're on, knowing everything that you know now today, what would those couple pieces of advice look like?
I would say the following. I would say, show up, because half the battle is showing up, right? How many times have we, want to go to that party on Friday night? Oh, it's cross town. I don't know if I want to drive. And then you end up going, right? And what happens? You meet incredible people, you find opportunities, new friends, whatnot. And a lot of people, I think that I look at real estate agents, they just go to their office or work from home and they're behind the computer on the MLS. They don't go out. They don't go to brokers' open houses. They don't go to parties and events and whatnot. They don't show up. So I would say show up, right? I would say don't be afraid to fail. You know, what was Mark Zuckerberg came up with the whole, I don't know if he came up with it, but he leaned into the whole thing, fail fast, right? Because the faster you fail, the more feedback you get, and the more you learn, the more you improve and the more you grow, right? So don't be afraid to fail, take risks. There's plenty of times when, you know, in my business when, you know, I just said, yeah, let's give it a shot, right? Let's go. And, you know, some people would have overanalyzed it, right? And they may not have got to the finish line on time because they overanalyzed it, but we gave it a shot and we won, or we could have failed with that decision. But we leaned in. So show up, don't be afraid to fail, bring big energy. That's what I like to do. And I've been told that I do. I'm like optimistic. I'm like the golden retriever, right? The tail's wagging. I'm like all happy to be here with you. And how can we hang out? And, you know, and so bring big energy, collaborate. You know, when I was a literary manager, we didn't get much into this part of my career, but when I was a literary manager and representing screenwriters and directors, when I started my own company, it's called Crescendo Entertainment Group, right? Music, Crescendo. And by the way, you're talking to the group, right? There was no that is a group. So the first thing I did is I called all of my competing literary management companies and talked to everybody and like took them out to coffee and didn't look at people as competitors. Hey, I may not want to work with this client. He's not their type of writing may not be my taste. But hey, Josh, you might be into them. You know, would you be open to me sending people like that over your way if they're not a fit? And you go, yeah, great. Now we're collaborating. And guess what? That may be paid back at some point. So collaborate. An agent should know every agent in their office. They should know agents in other markets. One of the things that I do is I reach out to, I'm always on the phone reaching out to Compass agents in different markets. I go to the retreats, whether it's Atlanta, Austin, Miami, right? I spend time of my day emailing and phone calling and following on social media Compass agents in New York, in Miami, in Dallas, in Chicago, in San Francisco, and Seattle. You know, that's a form of collaboration, right? And then I would say, Josh, I would lean into your moniker a little bit, GSD, right? And you just got to get shit done, right? When I was in the literary department, the motion picture literary department of United Talent Agency in Beverly Hills, there was I was making by that time I bumped up from $350 a week to $500 a week. And there was a line out the door waiting for my job, waiting for me to screw up and get fired because everybody wants to be a Hollywood assistant and get into the motion picture or the television department, right? And I think what I learned in the entertainment business is you got to find a way. You know, you can't, you know, if Jim Carrey wants something that we used to represent Jim Carrey wants to get into a certain restaurant or, you know, needs a package delivered to his hotel in Hawaii tonight, you can't say, I can't get that done. You lose your job. So you find ways to use your connections, pull in favors, pay people, whatever you need to do to get it done, right? So I say the same thing goes in this business. If you can't get it done for your clients, someone else will, right? So get shit done and just, you know, break through all the obstacles. Don't take no for an answer and be the hero.
Yeah, love it. Such powerful words. And Marc, we truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy to be here, man. This has been absolutely amazing, my friend.
It's been a pleasure, Josh. Good spending time with you and hope to do it again someday. I hope to see you in person at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do it. We'll have to make it happen.
All right.
Awesome. And then
you ever come to LA, I got you.
Yeah, 100%, man.
All right. Can we do it together? What's up, my peeps?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you being here, truly appreciate your support, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.